Hey guys, it's your host Julian. This week I'm sitting down and talking Solo Leveling Season 2 with Ricky, host of the Spoiler Force podcast. I want to give a special shout out to all the patrons that help support this podcast. Bill, Brent, Eight-Legged Bird, Jacob, Jordan, and Monique. Thank you all so much for your support. It truly means a lot. If you want to become a member of our Patreon channel to help support this show and get all these episodes early and ad-free, follow the link below and sign up today. Now, let's get to that chat with Ricky. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Cartoon Chronicles Podcast. I'm Mr. Julian, and today I'm joined by Ricky, or AKA the Spoiler Force host, AKA my anime sensei. Ricky, welcome back to the show, sir. How are you?
Good. Thank you for having me back on, man. It's been a long minute.
Yes, it has, and I always enjoy these because I don't think there's a better person to talk anime with than the guy that's like led me down the road to watching more anime than yourself here. So this week we're talking Solo Leveling Season 2. We haven't done a Solo Leveling Season 1 yet, ladies and gentlemen, so that one will come probably at a later time. But holy shit, let's kick it off, man. Give them the synopsis like you usually do. What do they need to know about Solo Leveling before they hit click play?
Solo Leveling. It is a manhwa from Korea. For folks who don't know, it's just a Korean comic book. But because of the hype over in Korea and then online, it's been picked up by Japan. I want to say season one was a different. I don't know if I forgot if it was a different studio or not. But season two was studio. It was Studio A1 Pictures.
Mhm.
Um, So any of you like production geeks, that's what this season is animated on. I want to say season one was Mappa.
I
I want
think
to say
so.
I think it was Mappa. For those fans, for you fans, is like JJK Chainsaw Man, but have way too much on their plate, and they shouldn't even be having that much. But A1 Pictures, fucking phenomenal. Solo Leveling. It's about Sung Jin Woo, who is the protagonist. He experiences a reawakening of his powers. Um, Pretty much, if you're into like Dungeons and Dragons or like isekai type stuff, that's what pretty much this world is. He's like a ranking hero who builds his way up because he got the cheat codes, the Game Shark. He unlocked that in a double dungeon. Um, so that essentially that's what it is. It's just him powering up, growing, and being physically stronger than everybody in this whole series. Um, but yeah, definitely it's a must watch for sure. It's the hype right now. Everyone loves this season. If you have not watched this season when it was dropping weekly, I know it dropped like it ended a week or two ago, but when it was still releasing on air, dude, the internet was going crazy every week for this season.
Dude, I've done this show for well north of 200 episodes now, right? And that's the first time anybody's dropped a Game Shark reference on here. So, Ricky, I'm fucking proud of you for that one.
Dude, we're old, man. Like people don't recognize like how old Game Shark is because like tangent Game Shark was like the epitome for like Pokemon players. It was a way
Hmm.
for you to go and get get multiple Mewtwo's,
Unknown.
all three starters, all the unknown. Like if you didn't want to go through the actual game, you just do Game Shark, learn the codes, or buy the booklet that had the codes in it, and you just play the game. But the cost of that though, sometimes it'll mess up your game file and you'll lose everything.
Hmm.
So that's what happened to me one time, and I stopped using Game Shark.
Oh man, me too, dude. I remember getting that rare candy, that infinity rare
Unlimited.
candies.
Yep.
Yeah, unlimited rare candies, 99, and then just going up and down, and then you hit that unknown, catch them, and then boom. I think it was like sixth or seventh spot in your inventory. I can't remember which one it was. But it's funny because I was breaking out the DS not too long ago, and I was playing Blue, which is my favorite of them. Obviously Pokemon Yellow is the greatest of all time, but Pokemon Blue, that was the first one. That was the one that I kept from Game Buster for so long, racked up so many late fees on my Game Boy Color that my younger brother and younger sister and I shared. But that's neither here nor there, man. That was Pokemon. That was a long time ago. Love the Game Shark reference. Solo leveling. So with this one, I was blown away. I loved season one. Now, usually, ladies and gentlemen, Ricky here, and whoever else I might have for the show, generally Brandon and Ty, they have either read the entire series or they're read way past this. And this is the first time, I don't know if you've caught up yet, but this is the first time where I've read way further because I don't ever read ahead of the anime. So this one got me out of that shell. Usually, I only watch dub because I love the voice actors in dub. Plus, I hate reading. When I have to read, I want to be able to focus on the animation. But I watched this one entirely in sub. So there's a lot of firsts for me this year for this show and in particular. And I went back and rewatched all of it in dub now too, just because I wanted to focus on the animation. I'd already seen it once, so I wanted to see if there was something that I could pick up in the background that I might have missed. Now, starting with this show, ladies and gentlemen, phenomenal. If you love World of Warcraft, because that's what it reminded me of. If you loved or ever wanted to be in like a Ready Player One aspect, you're the hero to your story. You could level up, you can go on fights, you can get gear. This is the show for you, man. So kicking it off at the beginning of this one, the thing that sucked me in the most for this season, right out of the gate, was that amazing
Uh-huh.
intro song. The
The red
song,
gate.
oh, dude, it was so beautiful. I loved the animation style. I loved that the it's like every trailer, man, they prelude to what's going to happen in the story. So you see him fighting the demon or the Baron demon. You know, you see him fighting Fang, you see him fighting all these people that he will eventually fight throughout the series. But they do it in a cityscape where you see it flickering. I love that aspect going from city to the underworld or the demon world. But what hooked me right away at the beginning of this, literally 2 seconds into it, was the song. Tell me about this song, or tell the fans about this song, how beautiful the song is.
I mean, anything with Lisa in it is pretty much gold because
Hmm.
Lisa's done a lot of anime opening songs. For the mainstream folks, she's done the opening for Demon Slayer season one. She did the music, or she did the music also, the ending theme for the Demon Slayer Mugen Train movie. Um, and she's done some other ones, but now like she's popping off. And then with this song, she had I want to say he was a Korean artist, either
Hmm.
rapper or singer. I don't know too much about him, but I know that it was a big deal because it's like you're crisscrossing two major stars from like one from Korea, one from Japan. But yeah, the intro was amazing, and plus, like every anime intro, man, like if you pay attention to the details, there's spoilers all in those intros. So that's like
Yes.
I try not to pay attention too much because they're always gonna add something like, whoa, what is that? You know, what is that? And folks who read the manga or the comic, they during like Attack on Titan, it's just like we all know what's going on in these intros. We know who's who, and it's like spoilers everywhere.
Yeah, like I said, dude, this got me right out of the gate. And what I love about what you just said is they kind of have that. So they take a star from each one of these countries, right? These competing countries. And then you see that within the show too later on in the series. So we'll talk about that in a little bit later. But it was just like another cool thing because as soon as I heard the song, it instantly went on my Spotify playlist, and I played it at least two, three, four times a day, especially at work. Man, I just loved it. I loved her voice. Her voice is so beautiful. I'd never really heard anything from her before, and Hayden. I think this might be the first time that Hayden, because Hayden always bitches because I watch every intro, I watch every outro, just because I love seeing the names in the credits, even though I can't read some of the names, especially in anime. But you know, I can't read some of those names or understand some of those names. But I think it's a huge disservice to like not read the credits or not look at them because there's so much work that goes into that. Plus, this song was a fucking banger, right? So I was like, we're listening to this, and Hayden, I would catch him like humming along to it. I'm like, oh, he's watching the intro. He's not bitching about it. You know what I mean? So it was really cool out of the gate. Beautiful song.
Yeah, I think honestly a lot of anime, like folks who watch the intro or even listen to the ending, is like that's how you know it's a good anime.
Hmm.
It's like folks always tend, you know how happy people were, even for me, how happy we were when we saw the skip intro button in like whether it's Netflix, Hulu, or like Crunchyroll. Like as soon as that whoever made that, like man, you're a lifesaver.
Yeah.
But yeah, solo leveling. I never skipped the intro at all when I was watching this season.
And what I liked about this one, I can't remember if I've asked you this or if it might have been Brandon, because you guys are like the two most forefront when it comes to anime, when it comes to knowledge on animation in general, that I'll reach out to. But I think this might be like the first anime that I've seen, and I've been in such a huge anime bubble these last 6 months. The only thing that's kind of broken me out of that anime bubble was a show called Common Side Effects on Adult Swim that is dope as shit, ladies and gentlemen. If you're not watching this, I mean, this will be the second time in 2 weeks that this came up during an episode. Go watch it. Fantastic. Best thing on American animation right now. And then, of course, Tokyo Vice and then Solo Leveling. That was like my diet these last quite some time. You know, so I loved the intro. Like I said, the song was beautiful. The animation was cool. Watching it and kind of seeing how everything was going to play out through the series was really, really cool. So let's kick it off with like the first. episode. So we won't go episode by episode, ladies and gentlemen, and give you a full breakdown. It would probably be like an overreaching review type of thing. We'll try to hit as many of the high points as possible. But I would be remiss to not talk about that first episode because I really think it sets the tone for the entire series, man. So these guys, they're going in for a raid. They bring in Jinwoo. I can never remember the female's name, the underage female, like his sister's friend. They go into a raid that's in an ice battle. They're going in with the White Tiger Guild, right? Which fucking Guildmaster Bach, or is it Bake?
Yep.
It's Bake. Guildmaster Bake. When he goes full on, we'll talk about it in a little bit, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen. Uh, it's so dope, man. But so he's in there with these guys, and they kind of hit. It turns red gate on this one, doesn't it? It's the first red gate.
Yep.
All right, man,
Yeah.
pick it up from there. Where are we at?
So Jinwoo goes in there just to observe the guild because he's trying to see how guilds work because he's still considered E rank at this time. He's still at the bottom.
Hmm.
Um, no one really knows his secret at this point. Like there, and that's the funny thing about this anime too. Is like everyone's suspecting, like, man, he got his powers. He's reawakened. You know he's gone through like these incredibly difficult gates and survived. And so him going through another red gate or going through this red gate with this guild, um, it's causing like the I guess you could say like the overseers, like the other S class fighters or hunters, to suspect like why is he in there? And so
Hmm.
when they're in this gate, um, I think it's led by a an A class hunter.
Tank.
Honestly, I'm gonna be honest. I don't remember everyone's name. I really just know Jinmu and his shadows, and like some other characters. So forgive me for butchering their names. But yeah, they go into the gate, start the mission, and then that's when like in typical uh solo leveling fashion, the people who are in charge of the mission like, all right, you guys stay behind, you guys are weak. And he's
Hmm.
experienced this before in season one, so he just like, all right, whatever. And yeah, and then they just continue on and run into problems, and what's funny is like in this first episode, like they kind of like, it's just teasing you because like we if you haven't seen season one, it just the anticipation of like what his power or what Sung Jinwoo's powers are at this point is just like, man, I can't wait to see when he starts summoning shadows because that's all we all want to see. And once the group splits, he helps his team, does the Game Shark stuff, open his
Hmm.
inventory, takes out blankets, tents, gets them food. Like, all right, you guys sit here, camp out. I'm gonna go and defeat the boss of this gate so we can go home. Because the longer they stay in the gate, um, time passes outside, and they have to finish the gate. That's the only way to get out. So Jinwoo does what he does best, kills off some bears, runs into the alpha bear, and that's where we talked about the song by Hiroyuki Sawano, man. Like that's where the music picks up and it just goes ape shit. It's so freaking cool to see how like how they amp up the shadows fighting too, and uh for those who don't know, the first two episodes were I want to say it was the first two episodes because I had a friend who went to go watch the solo leveling release in theaters. It was pretty much a season one recap with a drop of like episode one and two, kind of.
Oh,
Um,
really? Do they usually
yeah.
do that?
Excuse me. No, I mean, I think now with Demon Slayer doing what they've been doing to kind of like uh bankroll pretty much, they're like,
Hmm.
oh, we'll tease you guys with the next episode or like see the next season stuff in theaters if you go watch the recaps or like watch the finales type stuff. Because I went to the past two Demon Slayer events, and yeah, the first one was, or the last one I went to was with the season three, yeah, watching or no, yeah, watching season three, and then getting a glimpse of episode one, season four, and then the previous one was the ending of season two, getting a glimpse of season three. So I think studios are now picking that up because Solo Leveling did that. I don't know how much they made, but I'm real fans who went to go watch it, they got a sneak peek of season two. And my friend who watched it saw this in theater. So that's why see like these first two episodes in season two were like so good because they dropped these episodes in theaters. I can only imagine watching this on a big screen, hearing the
Hmm.
sound effects, and so yeah, that opening battle, man, or that battle at the end of episode one is what made it start off so good.
So we're going to talk about this for a little bit longer, but I also want to put a pin in that and I want you so you can. I'm gonna give you the question I'm gonna ask later. So hopefully we'll remember it. But if you could see one of the fight sequences, and like I said, just think about this one, one of the fight sequences from this entire season on the big screen, which one would it be? And we'll pick that up and we'll talk about that at the end of this episode. All right, man. So you got it right, dude. Like I said, this whole episode, these first two episodes kicks off the entire season, sets the tone, really lets you know where Jin was at mentally, physically, and emotionally, and what he has to do to get to where he thinks he needs to be. And you see that when he starts to protect the whole weaker party, right? That tank that ends up going away, this was his like tryout, his final thing to go before he became a full-fledged guild member and a team leader as an A rank tank. Ends up wiping the whole fucking party because they wind up just coming into ice elves essentially. Ice elves aren't typically in this general area. Ice bears specifically as well. So you usually have one, not the other. So Jinwoo's already starting to see something coming up. The fight scene with Egress and the bears, holy shit, was that great. I wish we got, a little bit ahead of myself here, but I wish we got a little bit more Egress this season than we did because, throughout the books, he's such a major part, man. But as he starts getting these stronger minions, they become just as much of a part. So you kind of got to divide up that cake just a touch. But what I love about the anime Vice the Manhwa is like sometimes it's very hard to see the action sequences in these panels, right? You kind of like see two things just button heads. I'm like, oh fuck, where are they? Where's the head? Where's the arm? Like, what's going on here? I love when it gets to the anime because you can see like full on 30 seconds of something that was like maybe one or two panels on a page, you know? So this fight sequence in general, it was beautiful. He comes to the king, the Ice King at that time, or the Ice King for this dungeon. And then you instantly start to see like one is not like the other. There's something different. This villain is picking up like I don't get this message in my head, right? And that's a common occurrence, a common thing that's said throughout this entire thing. I don't get this like kill all humans, kill you, kill human when I see you. So it's starting to be a little confused for the villains as well. And this is one of like the best fight sequences. The tank comes back, ends up trying to kill Jinwoo. Jinwoo obviously kills this tank. It's now like the fourth or fifth body he's stacked up on his on his kill list, and he brings him back, names him Iron. Right, so he is now the tank for Jinwoo, and then he has one of the coolest fight sequences with him, Eager's tank, excuse me, Iron, going back and forth to kill this Ice King. What I loved about this fight sequence, it really even wasn't the fight, even though the fight was beautiful. I loved the exchange with him. It was at the end when Iron is just smashing, the dude. And then, Jinwoo goes like, dude, what the hell? And you see Egress like upset, like dad, like you just made dad mad, you made dad upset. And you just see this like, oh man, shucks, I messed up. I loved a little humor like that within this one. But what was your favorite part about this whole fight sequence?
Just seeing the teamwork, like
Hmm.
the ice elf when he was, talking shit to Jinwoo, and
Hmm.
he just like, your new guy here, your tank is too slow. Like you and your knight need to jump in, and that's when Egress and Jinwoo jump in the fight. Dude, it's just so cool to see. Like I'm a big Egress fan, man. Like he's
Hmm.
every time he's on screen, I geek out. He doesn't even have to
Yeah.
say anything. He just comes out. You see like the red hair, and he pulls out the big sword. You're like, dude, this guy's a freaking monster. But every time he's on screen, I love it. Just seeing the teamwork and seeing how crafty Jinwoo is now with his skills. He was letting Iron do all the heavy work, and then he had his mages in the back shoot the fireballs, and then he would cloak up and then stab the ice guy or the ice elf. Dude, he's just so crafty as a hunter.
Hmm.
Um, and just like if for those who are like really into like the whole like Warcraft or D&D, like you're looking at his stats, his level ups, what
Yep.
equipment he's using, what skills he's using. It's a whole gamer thing, man. Like if you're a big gamer, you catch on to those little details to see
Hmm.
how Jinwoo is playing the game. But it was cool. It was cool seeing all of that unfold and just seeing how like I give props to the animators, man. They do so well. And like you said, like it's hard to read the manhwa sometimes because like they're only showing you highlights of the fight, and then when you get to see it unveiled in animation form, like most anime and stuff like that, it's just more. You appreciate it a lot more. You don't have to think about the fight that's going on in your head.
Hmm.
That's why like another tangent. That's why like a lot of anime watchers give us shit for like, oh, you read the manga, you're like, Krillin and the Dragon Ball Z fighters just standing at Roshi's house thinking about the fights instead of like actually watching it. So we get a lot of shit for that too.
Man, it's funny how fan bases are because I was gonna save this to the end, but I want to bring it up just in case I forget, man. So I would always hear, you'd always hear dub versus sub. You would always hear read versus not read, and it's like I never really understand. I still don't understand all of it, but I did get somewhat of a glimpse of what like most people talk about when it's like either for or against dub or sub. So when you get to the end, the final boss in this one is obviously it's alluded to the entire time. They're going to be fighting ants, right? And Biru comes up. I enjoyed that voice so much more in the Japanese sub than I did the dub. The dub just nothing against the guy that did it, but it wasn't as menacing. It wasn't as like dark and sadistic. It wasn't as terrifying as it was when it was the sub version, man. But I say all that to say it's like I enjoyed this. Like I said, this series broke me out of not watching ahead. Like I still have not watched all, excuse me, I still have not read all of My Hero. I think that might be the only one that I won't do it in, just because we're pretty close to when this next season's going to come, and I can only imagine it's going to come out in the next few months. So I want to be pleasantly surprised with what's going to happen and what's going to unfold. And I've already got all the books back here on my shelf, so I'm going to read them after that just to see if there's any context clues I might have missed. But it's like I loved reading this, but I also loved seeing. I could appreciate both, but I could also kind of see, even though there's some aggro anime fans, aggro animation fans, just aggro fans of anything you like, out there. But I really appreciated the animation, just how drawn out these fight sequences were, especially when Egress. There's something about a knight in full armor, and I know you're really into cosplay. I can't remember. Did I send you one that I found on Reddit that a dude did an entire Egress cosplay?
No, I
All right,
haven't
I'm
seen
gonna
it.
go back and find that after we get off this one. It's like one of the best. Like I don't really follow too many cosplay people because it's like one more thing I have to like sit there and try to store up here. But the attention to detail that they did, and they did like pre-shadow egress, so he's all in red. It's when he was walking up through the castle in season one, which was arguably probably might be the best fight in the entire series though so far. I mean, we'll talk about best fights for the season, but like me, that's got to be like top one, top two, 1A, 1B as far as fights go in this series so far. So we kind of get out of this gate. They come out, and then you see both was it Dong Su? I always get this guy's name wrong, but he was the brother of the hunter that Jinwoo had to kill in the previous season. Spoiler, ladies and
Oh,
gentlemen.
yep, yep.
So you see him out there, and then him and Guildmaster Bake of the White Tiger Guild. You see them having an exchange, and then they start going like full on Super Saiyan, essentially, ladies and gentlemen, going S rank versus S rank. Power levels are going through the roof, plus 9,000, and you see the like it kind of like dispels when everybody comes out. And you see something that I thought was so cold-blooded but so fucking cool. Bake essentially grabs, and they reference this back in the last episode or two of the season, but he grabs Jinwoo's shoulder and he goes, "Hey man, what essentially happened?" And you see him shrug it off, and he's like, "There was one of the coldest lines throughout the entire series thus far." And he goes, he was like, "Most people would thank me for saving their guild, essentially." And I'm just like, dude, the balls on this kid already. You know what I mean? So pick it up from there, man. So they're coming out of the gate, they have this interaction, and what kind of happens next?
Essentially, they just I kind of just want to piggyback up on Dongsu because like he comes back from America and
Hmm.
that's the thing I like about Solo Leveling too is like it's not just Japan, it's not just Korea, it's the whole world. The whole
Open
world.
world.
There's hunters and all that stuff. So he Dongsu leaves Korea, comes back to try to get revenge for his brother, but then he has to leave, and then that's when Bake grabs Jinwoo, and then yeah, you just that he's trying to figure out like where's my guys because they went in there with you, and Jinwoo, being him, he's just like, well, I saved the other guys here that were in your guild too, so just be glad that they survived. And it just kind of like they just kind of leave Jinwoo because they're trying to figure out what his deal is because the guy that recommended Jinwoo to go to this raid, he's familiar with them about the reawakening, and they're trying to figure out like, okay, so is he? was he lying about his powers, or is he hiding more things? And it's causing a lot more attention for the S rank hunters and the guilds to be like, okay, so he's going to be an issue if we don't control it, because the overarching theme is also like, because they don't want to if they lose someone like Jinwoo, it's a threat to Korea, and it's also
Hmm.
like a chance for other countries like, oh, we want to grab this guy and bring him to our side, so that's why they're keeping eyes on him. But they leave, and then I want to say it was this episode as well where Jinwoo kind of has like his Aaron Yeager moment, and he's like rinsing his face in the washroom, and he's like, that's another body I just took. Like
Hmm.
he just killed someone again. I wish they focused more on this in this season. Him taking lives, I think that's something that's I think it's very overlooked in this anime. Seeing Jinwoo's growth as a person and a hunter, because his character in the beginning of the show was like very calm, very meek, very physically weak, and him gaining all this power, and then him having to take lives to protect other people, and just him seeing like the I guess the what's the word, like it's just the flaws of the guild, and like seeing how evil these hunters can be, and him being a victim in these guilds and the gates as well. He just like, he's kind of, I feel like he's losing his humanity a little bit. I think he's, so when that scene came, he just like looking in the mirror, and it gave me like Aaron vibes, or he just like, dude, I'm like, that's another body on my on my kill list right there. So yeah, excuse me. Yeah, and I want to say after this arc, he kind of just wants to keep working, and trying to get the potion for his mom. And that was another a big thing. And I mean, that's the reason why he started. Once he
Hmm.
got these powers, he wanted to get the potion to save his mom from the coma, and he starts working. I want to say, yeah, that I think after the Red Gate, he goes to work, starts making money. He has that Ben Stiller Zoolander moment, with the tank top and the construction hat.
When
Yeah,
when did they come? I don't mean to interrupt you, but when you were talking about like he was talking the body count, when does he get the message from one of the villains that essentially says, "Hey man, watch out," because it's like that the overarching theme or the overarching quote that I got from this one is that absolute power corrupts absolutely. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
it's all of this power dumping. And do you remember where that was at as far as the series goes in this season?
Like
Because there's one of the
he got like a
villains warned him.
notification, or the
Well, it was
villains warned
just,
him.
yeah, one of the villains goes essentially, hey, just watch out, the system. It was essentially something like the system will use you type of things. I want to say, I just
Was it
can't remember,
was it when he was talking to that demon girl? I want to say it might have been that. If not, I don't.
probably that or the
I don't
dad.
remember. Yeah,
Or maybe it was the demon Baron Lord. I can't remember, but it was just like it was one of those interactions with the villains that popped in and just said, "Hey, watch how much like you put yourself out there. If you open it, it's essentially opening up Pandora's box. You can't put it back
yeah.
in there. You know what I mean?" So I definitely think that they set it up that way in a sense of like talking about it in maybe the next season. But as far as I'm at, I'm waiting for book 12 to come out next month. So I'm that far and they really don't make too many references to like his body count
Yeah, I know.
or his kill count, which is kind of crazy when you think about it. But it's just like, all right, well, this is kind of like him adapting. Like his brain can only take so much. Like we can only remember and retain so much. We have to erase some shit to get rid of some shit. So maybe that's what the system ultimately does. It just erases his humanity or it erases shit like that where he's always busy. So he's always thinking. And maybe that's the thing. Maybe it's like, oh, fuck, I killed all these people. I can't really think. I can't really focus. You don't get that vibe from him. I'm just trying to give him the benefit of the doubt. Maybe he's consistently trying to get better so he can kind of forget and he never has to be put into that position again. But who knows? Maybe he's just fucking kill hungry.
Well, he's got all those side quests he's got to do every day. The 10K run, the push-ups, the
Hmm.
sit-ups. And that's what I think is funny too, that he still has to do those dailies.
Yeah.
Like again, it's just like a grind. When you're grinding on a game, you got to do your dailies to get your points. He doesn't want to get punished again, like back in season one where he got thrown into the desert. So he has to grind out his routine.
And
But yeah,
bravo for that Zoolander fucking reference too, by the way, man. Ladies and gentlemen, that's a fucking that is an amazing. I never thought about that until you said it, so I could just see Jinwoo putting it over like
dude,
him, and he's just
you
fucking
didn't see
hitting
the
blue
memes on
steel.
Instagram, dude? Yeah.
No, because I try to stay away from it because I didn't want to be. At that point I didn't read ahead yet, so
Uh,
every time I get on the internet, I could even just type in like macaroni and cheese recipe, and it's like, what happened to Jin Woo Sung in episode 3? I'm like, dude, I didn't even fucking look for this, and it's getting spoiled. You know what I mean?
that was like when that episode dropped, everyone was making Zoolander references, like
Yeah.
the way how he was walking, excuse me, the way how he was walking, and then like even like when he meets uh Guildmaster Cha, I think that's the girl.
Yeah.
When he
Hunter Cha.
meets yeah, when he meets her the first time, and she doesn't smell anything off of him, and like all the memes are like, this is how dudes who think they'll get reactions from when they get like good clone, like yeah, it's stupid shit like that you see on the internet, man. Like it's hilarious. Like I love seeing all the jokes and the memes on the reels on Instagram or like on YouTube or the TikTok. It's funny seeing how creative people get and how fast these jokes drop. Like
Hmm.
not within that weekend, if you're not on it, like you miss out those
Yeah.
jokes, and it's great. It's I love the fandom. It's hilarious. But yeah, he meets Hunter Cha, and then like he just and then that's the thing too, because like the incident with the elf where he's like noticing the glitch in the game, and then like
Hmm.
Hunter Chad doesn't smell anything off of him too. That was another big thing. And like why doesn't like she smells like a stench from every hunter, but when it comes to Jinwoo, she doesn't smell anything. And I think that's kind of like teasing the whole like system. Like he's
Hmm.
not a part of. He's not like a normal hunter. He's part of something bigger, and that was a big like detail there that they dropped in the show, that for viewers to kind of like, oh, that's an important detail to pay attention to. And like he goes and gets more money from mining, and like he just cruising through these jobs. Like all these miners, like, dude, like what the hell? Like we're getting through this so fast, and that's what's funny too, is like you forget that he's a hunter, but then he needs money. He has to do these jobs to get money to pay for his, whether it's his bills or his mom's hospital bills and stuff like that. So that was pretty cool to see Jinwoo being more down to earth. And I want to say after that, that's where he goes into the next raid or the next gate, and that's where they run into all the orcs and all that. And then this is where like I was reading the manual up to this point, and then like when those episodes dropped, I'm like, screw it, I'm just gonna wait till the season ends to read the
Dang, you
manual.
pulled a Julian. We switched roles, brother.
Yeah, yeah. It was up to this point in the anime where I was like, damn, I was reading the manual, I was getting pretty far. I'm like, and then they just within like 2 to 3 episodes they covered everything that I was at. I'm like, all right, I'll just wait. So yeah, that's what happened.
I like to hear it, man. So there was one character that I loved. I mean, it was like the king of all bloods comes walking in with his red suit. It was very Death Row Records, 1994. And I believe his name is Choi, Choi. I believe he's the fire
Oh,
mage,
the
essentially.
fire guy. Yeah, yeah.
Dude, he was so fucking badass. Like I joke about I joke about him coming in as King Blood, but him in that suit, dude, and him like he's got a fistful of rings on both sides, and then you hear them say that's the ultimate weapon, and he just comes in. He's torching. What are these things? They're spiders, right? For the one that they're in
Yeah.
right now. So he's just torching all these spiders, these ice spiders, So Jin Woo, he goes and everybody's on a lunch break, ladies and gentlemen. They're going and collecting the mana crystals, because that's what they use for currency and upgrading things and putting stuff into armor and shit like that. So he goes to where the gate's at. And one of the coolest moments that I didn't catch until she had said something was him right next to it, and she goes, and it's all inner monologue, but she's like, did he have a weapon in his hand for just a split second? And I go back and I rewound it. I'm like, oh shit, he he did, and I didn't even think to look until she had said something, So it was like little moments like that that like it forces you to like pay a little bit more attention than you do. Because usually, especially when I'm watching like anything, I try to keep my phone in the other room so that way I can focus on what's going on. I'm not too worried about, who's texting me and all that shit. So I can, because there's so many things you'll miss from just like the context clues to like how a character responds, like verbally or non-verbally. So there was a lot of things like that throughout the series that I absolutely loved. But she essentially tells him like, "Hey, go away. You know, if you wake up this boss, everybody here is gonna die." And then Homeboy comes by, literally snapping his fingers, flame on with everything. With this one, with the Guildmaster Choi. Um, and you kind of flash forward. He goes into that gate like you were saying. He's going in again as an objective observer, there to essentially just carry the the bag to go help them collect some shit. And they're going in with the guild, and then shit goes crazy. I think what is it, like jackals or some shit like that, or wolves comes running out, and they instantly notice like that shouldn't be here in this dungeon, right? And then you see the red orcs, the high orcs, whatever they were called, just coming out, and that's when shit really gets like hits the fan. So at this point, ladies and gentlemen, we talked about the Ice King. We're going to talk about another huge fight sequence. So just if you're playing bingo at home, we're going to talk about the favorite fight sequences of all time and eventually what we would like to see on the big screen. But this is another like top tier fight sequence. Obviously, oops, the entire guild is fighting all these orcs. Jin Woo's an objective observer, right? He's trying not to get seen, but the party essentially starts getting fucked up real big, real quick, and everybody's starting to go. They're trying to get out of this. And then he essentially goes rogue in a metaphorical and a physical way where he just shadows and then he's just cutting people up left and right, but not enough where it's like he's finishing them. It looks like the guild that he's with is finishing them. He's just helping them along the way, essentially cutting the Achilles heel. He does that a couple times. And then the party, a couple of the magic users, they realize like, oh shit, like our perception's high enough. We know he's doing this. It's cute that he doesn't think that we don't know that he's doing this. And then I always get his name wrong. Is it Kargareth? The final like warlock, the wizard at the end, the Kargareth or some shit like that. The big red wizard,
Dude, I don't know. I just know that he gets he gets
bro.
stupid from Jinwoo. Like dude, very much like Jinwoo. This show, I am terrible with names, man. Like I think it's just like it's just so
There's
hard
so
to
many new ones.
yeah, and plus it's in Korean, so it's like it's learning the Korean names too. So you just like you're so used to having Japanese names, and then now we got to switch to Korean names. And like, okay, I got to remember who's who. For me, it's a little bit harder because I'm not paying attention to the names. I just know you by your powers at this point.
So he essentially fights this wizard, warlock, whatever you want to call him. And it is like one of the best fight, like all of the fight sequences here when it was like big boss fights, Jinwoo versus villain, they were all great. So this is definitely one of those ones that's an all timer for me. You see what I love, and I can't remember where he brings it up. Maybe it's in the final episode, or maybe the final two episodes of the first season. Does he make a reference to like, man, I was curious. It is in the final season. He's like, I was curious if you guys felt fear, and then his eyes essentially go blue, and that's another badass like Jinwoo moment right there, a Jinwoo line. But you see that when he's fighting all these red orcs, and then the boss essentially of all these guys is a warlock, and he's kind of upset that like this one guy is just destroying everybody, and he's getting that same ice king, ice elf king vibes. Like, I'm not hearing that message to kill you. Like, what are you essentially? And they begin to fight, and it's one of the coolest fights. Like, there's shields, there's fire dragons. He literally takes the tank that this is his last mission for this guild, and he's going to be a full-fledged member, and he's going to be a team leader essentially, so he can go and lead in these raids. And Homeboy just gets picked up, thrown to the ceiling, thrown to the ground, just mollywopped essentially, which was really really cool. And then one of the dopest moments, he goes, "Hey, you guys are about to fucking die. You want me to step in? I can handle these guys, but I need your permission to open up a can of whoop ass." And he's like, "Yes, please save us." And he essentially, Stone Cold Steve Austin, opens up a can of whoop ass and walks a mud hole dry in all of these orcs, man. So, what was your favorite moment from this fight sequence?
Uh, that part, honestly, that part, like, because when reading the manhwa, he's like, when he talks to that leader, he's like, dude, like, I need your permission to do this, which I thought it was funny at first too, like just reading it. He's like, dude, like I need your permission to do this because I don't
Yeah.
want to overstep you. And so the leader's like, yeah, go ahead, do it. And I, I honestly like this part a lot more in the manhwa, like where he's like where he summons everybody, all his
Mhm.
soldiers, Eagers, Iron, like, and they just all line up with Jinmu to just pretty much scrap. I thought that was a really really good panel. Um, and but to see that in the anime format, it was really cool too. And then just seeing them all fight, and like there was parts where where like you would see Egress just I don't know the way I can't explain it well. It's just so like there was like 30 seconds of like just Egress running around and like killing orcs and like
Slicing
just
everybody.
yeah, it just like just one constant frame, just all at once going, and there's just so much going on in this fight, and you just see like where Jinwoo gets tested with magic, and he's like, yeah, his magic's better than the warlocks, and like it's just a lot. It just again, typical Jinwoo fashion. He just shows up, mops the floor with everyone, and you just see how strong he gets, and you see all his shadows they're all stronger now too. Like, and I love seeing like the change of colors throughout
Hmm.
the show too. So like, excuse me, I just it gets. I'm gonna be honest. It gets a little repetitive at this point too, because like you're just like, all right, we know Jinwoo's powerful. What else can he do? And what he does is pretty much kills the warlock and brings him to his team. And I was like, all right, that's even better. His team's getting bigger, and he starts having the high or more like now his army's growing. So it's like the
Hmm.
shadows, Egress, the all the polar bears, and then yeah, now you have the high orcs and then the warlock. So his shadow army is growing immensely.
That it is, man. And I think he named him Fang because of his fangs. Um,
Well, funny
you
part is
know,
he's just like he forgot his name.
yeah.
Like he's like, what's your name? Like, what did they call him? I don't know.
Which is such a disrespectful thing. I just whooped your ass. You were telling me you're Kolgarath of your bloodline, yada yada yada. You're this, you're that, and he's like, I just fucking destroyed you. And he's like, shit, what was this guy babbling about just like fucking 30 seconds ago before I destroyed him and made him my indentured, servant essentially, but it was really cool seeing him kind of come to the dark side essentially, but in a good way, because you see him try to revive the Ice Elf King, whatever he might. I can't remember if it was Ice Elves or whatever it is. Ice Slayers is what they killed him because of their names. But it was cool seeing it because you go like, oh shit, this is the first time like you've seen him actually fail on a resurrection,
Yeah,
or a shadow extraction. And you're like, oh shit, he is valuable. He can't just get everything and anything he needs, and you see it with this one. I think it took him like two tries or whatever it was, but I was like, oh, maybe he's not going to get him. Is this where he kind of like taps out? Does he need to do something else to get these higher ranked, allies essentially on his side? But it was really cool seeing him incorporate that. And then it was even cooler seeing the government, essentially like the NSA, CIA, FBI, go, don't say shit, and just
yeah.
walks him out of the walks him out of the dungeon, man.
And that's what the thing with Jinwoo too. He tells everyone, he's like, you guys can't say anything. You guys got to keep your mouth shut. Like what I'm doing here, you guys can't talk about it. He has to warn everyone every time when he like starts using his powers. And because of this whole incident though, that's why he goes back and gets reevaluated. And
Mhm.
because he does that, it causes a big scene because now there's another S tier or S class hunter just out of nowhere. And I think it was a big deal in Korea because now they have another like I think they have more
Yeah, they had
S
10.
yeah, they
They
have
had
10
10 at
S.
that point.
Yeah, so like it increases their numbers, and then it draws attention to like the other countries and stuff, and especially the fact that he's reawakened. I think that was the
Hmm.
that was the big part.
And the first one in 3 years, I think, is what they
Yeah.
said. And I can't remember if I think it happens after this dungeon, but you kind of see what's alluded to be Jinwoo's dad pop up, gets
Oh yeah, we
arrested.
forgot to talk about him. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and he gets brought in, and then there's only one guy that can interrogate him, or so you're led to believe, and that's Dong Su. And if you're keeping track, ladies and gentlemen, that was the brother that came from Korea, went to America, God damn it, to be a hunter, then came back to Korea because he was in a dungeon that his brother didn't survive, Jin Woo did, and I can never remember his. Well, will eventually be the vice guild master for Solo, whatever.
The
What?
blonde guy, or
Yeah, his the guy that bankrolls the entire guild.
oh,
Can never remember his name. Um, but those are the two guys that survived the raid that his B rank brother didn't, and he's to interrogate what is supposed to be Jinwoo's dad, and then gets his dick kicked in by Jinwoo's dad, which is a really cool fight scene. I really wanted to see a little bit more, but I definitely like the mystique of not blowing your load on this one, not having like everything out there with this guy. But it was just cool seeing him build up. You see the fight sequence or the dust up with Bake, an episode or two before. So you know he's powerful, and to see him just get his ass completely handed to him, like that, you're like, oh shit, there are many levels to this. And then I think that's like the first hint you hear. You might even hear it is the national rank hunters, and you go, oh shit, this thing goes higher than S rank. So it's opening and broadening your world essentially with every episode with this one. What'd you think about that sequence right there, man? Were you all for it? Did you kind of like not need it? What were you thinking?
Well, at that point, I already read I was reading the manual, so I knew what happened. I
Hmm.
knew they were gonna show like the fight. I was hoping maybe because it's anime, like maybe they tease it, but they went full on with how the manual did it, so they didn't show anything. Um, but for me as someone who's watching and reading this, I was just like, man, I typical anime fashion. I was like, I want to know who Jinwoo's dad is. Like, who the
Yeah.
hell is he? Why? Where was he? Because every anime dad, they're not there for their kids. So like where was he all this time? Why is he so strong? Like these same questions pop up. Just like where was he? And they even up until the end of the season, they don't even touch upon it. So I let that shit go. Honestly, I think it was just the whole like it's a teaser for sure,
Hmm.
and it's kind of like, oh, maybe that's why Jinwoo is so strong because his dad is strong. I was just like typical, very typical anime fashion. I was like, yeah, very very Goku esque.
That it is, man. Which is kind of cool, and it's kind of like I said, it kind of sucks. I hate and enjoy having to like wait for, the payoff essentially. So I know it's going to be, in theory, it should be really, really good when you finally see when you see it happen for sure. Because where I'm at now, you don't really see too much, as of yet. But you kind of get past that. You see him go through his entire reawakening process, and then he goes to get his levels read, and it's just like, yeah, we can't read you. Can you come back? I think our machines are broken. You ever see that movie Grandma's Boy?
No, I have not. I heard of it though. I
All
know
right,
the
so
concept.
this oh man, it's a Happy Madison production. You got to go
Yeah.
and watch this. It's one of the funniest things. We're talking about video game-esque shows. This is completely about video game testers. They're making this thing, yada yada yada. It's just really really cool. But there is a sequence in there with Nick Swardson. And during their lunch breaks, right, they would go and they would like, all right, I'm challenging you, another video game tester, to a game. Whoever wins gets bragging rights for the day, right? And then they get Dance Dance Revolution in, right? And it's one of those things where Nick Swartzen, he's like, what do I do? Do I just tap on it? And you see him completely just dust this guy, and he's just doing all of these crazy things. And at the end, it goes, oh, high score. Oh, what does that mean? Does that mean I broke it? That was the first like thought I got when I was watching that whole sequence. Like, oh, he just broke it. He doesn't know what's going on, So I liked that moment, but that alerts the government. That goes and gets President Go, no pun intended. And you see the next kind of level for solo leveling kind of unfold. So it used to be just hunters. Now the government is involved. And you find a little bit more information about the government. Like they're put in place to kind of keep the hunters in check, even though the president used to be an S rank. He's retired because of heart issues and health issues. And I think he said he was like 82 or something like that. He looked great for 82, however old he was, man. He looked fantastic. So you see him trying to kind of like reach out to Jin Woo, just like you had said before, kind of like, hey, we already lost Dong Su. We can't really lose another S rank. So we kind of want to test the waters to see what he's thinking. Does he want to stay here? Does he want to go out? So you kind of see that foundational like relationship essentially between Go and Jin Woo kind of start to develop, man. But what were your thoughts getting to like this part, seeing the government open up, like the world essentially around Jinwoo kind of opening up a little bit more?
Oh man, you know me, dude. I love seeing like when the government gets involved into like the anime stuff. Like,
Hmm.
I get all Attack on Titan. I'm like, dude, there's
Yeah.
conspiracy. There's a conspiracy going on.
Ricky
There,
tinfoil hat comes out, or
yeah,
tinfoil
exactly. Like,
Ricky.
like there's a conspiracy that's gonna go on. Like the hunters ain't shit. Like there's something going on behind the scenes. They're funding. They're using the hunters to fund something. They're doing like a war behind the scenes that no one knows about. Like, my mind races with these thoughts because, like, I personally love seeing that stuff in anime. Like when you
Hmm.
think like the whole governing faction is like good, turns out they're all complete assholes. Like, but
Yep.
that's not the case with Korea's
Hmm.
guild or hunter guild, which I thought was funny too because it's like. I want to say like they kind of point at like Japan. They're like, oh, Japan's they're the
Yeah.
bad guys, you know. And it's
Yeah.
funny because like this is a
They're
show
still at
that's
war.
they're dubbed in Japanese,
Hmm.
and so like they're Koreans dubbed in Japanese, talking about how the Japanese are bad guys. And I don't know if this is true. Someone can fact check me. I want to say in the Japan when they showed this in Japan, they didn't say Japan was the bad guys. They said it was like an international or like it was something like along those
They
lines. Like
blamed it on America.
yeah, you know, like they're saying like, oh, Japan's not the bad guys. It's the I want to say like the subs over there was like it was international or something along the lines where like Japan's not the bad guy. But like yeah, and in solo leveling they kind of point at like, oh, Japan is like you got to watch out for those guys. They're kind of sketchy over there, you know. So yeah, I mean I like that. I like that that the president went to see Jinmu too. You know, he was it's you know again it's very predictable seeing like okay they want to make sure Jinwoo's in check. They don't want to have this guy like just out there having these S class powers and just doing whatever the hell he wants. You know, it's a good thing to have him in Korea, but it's also bad like oh, okay, well he could choose not to listen to us. You know, and that's where I think that's where it came down to where he's like, well, what do you want? Like, do you want to get paid? Do you want is it a family thing? And Jinwoo just tells him like, yeah, I just want to have my family. You know, I want to I need to get things done.
Yeah.
And it's also like you know I'm glad that like they didn't go into like the whole idea that like him just exploiting everything. You know, he just tells them that he's an S class. He doesn't talk about like the potion. He doesn't talk about like going into these gates to save his mom and all that. So like I'm glad he
He's
kept like
very
all
guarded.
yeah he kept all that shit to himself. Like he God forbid he tells everyone his secrets, the anime would be done. It's like oh yeah I have a
Yeah.
cheat code. You know like you know so I'm glad he didn't
President
go that
Go's
route.
going to be the only guy that knows about the Game Shark too, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. So
You
yeah,
know,
it's you know again like this show is story wise it's like now that we're talking about it it's very predictable in a sense where like all right I kind of see where it's going. You know?
that it is like you can, but there are some curveballs that they'll throw at you because every time you start to think like, oh shit, I know where they're gonna go, something kind of different from the status quo changes that perception. Like I said, man, I'm hook, line, and sinker for this show, so it's like I can suspend just a little bit of disbelief and just be like, all right, man, I'm not gonna think about it. Like I like when you were talking about tinfoil Ricky there for a second, like, oh shit, the government's involved.
Yeah, no,
They
that's
killed JFK.
that's exactly what my mind went to. You know, even when I was reading the manual, I was like, of course, the government's trying to recruit him. Like, we
Hmm.
want you to join us, and you're going to be part of our secret society or secret pact of elite warriors that no one knows about. You know, like it's just, I'm kind of glad they didn't go that route too. I personally would have liked it, but I'm glad like for the just storytelling wise, they just kept it like real with Jinwoo. Like, dude, we just want to make sure you're on our side.
Hey man, you gotta protect home, right? Um, I loved, we kind of skipped over two things that happened here. And the first thing was Jinwoo's kind of oblivious to what's going on that day. He's like, man, all these people around here, do they really hear about me? And there's this big
Oh yeah,
actor
yeah.
that goes from actor. Now he's an A rank. He already got tested weeks before, so he knows what he's going to be. And he's just a dick, just an absolute, like, stereotypical, full of himself actor type of person. Just the worst dregs of humanity is this guy. And he's like, "Do you know who I am?" Which whenever you hear somebody say that, it's like, "Oh, you're just not a good person, right?" So he kind of thinks like all the crowds for him, then finds out it's this actor. He kind of slips in and out. My favorite moment through these like two episodes for the lead up for him getting reawakened is when Choi comes back around. And he's like, "Oh, he just got classified as an S rank. I'm gonna go try to get him on with our guild." And then Jinwoo just walks right by him. And then he looks at like his assistant. He goes, I did I did say who I was, correct? And he was like, Yes, yes, sir, you did. You did tell him who you were. And it was just one of those cool, like, let me check your fucking ego at the door type of moments that I absolutely loved about this series so far.
Yeah, I mean, like Jinwoo is like very, like I said, he's oblivious to everything. He doesn't care about like status or anything. He's got
Hmm.
his own like goals that he
Own
wants to
goals.
accomplish. Um, but that's also the one thing that I didn't like too, because like a lot of the fans were like, "Oh, he's I don't know if you know the term aura farming, but they're like he just
No.
aura farming, just like looking cool every episode, pretty much."
Oh, trying to be Mystique and shit.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. They're just like every episode he has to like aura farm and he has to like look cool and be mysterious. I was like, yeah, okay. You know, it gets kind of annoying. I like seeing like the those moments where Jinwoo just like what the hell's going on? Like he doesn't care. Like he doesn't care what's going on,
Oblivious.
but like he just doesn't know what's going on either. He's like,
Mhm.
okay, whatever, and kind of like add on to that to that pop idol or that actor. I want to say it was Rico Fajardo that voiced him too in the English dub.
Really?
I think so. I think so. I could be
Dang.
wrong, but I think it was Rico that voiced him.
Homeboy coming through in the clutch in
Yeah,
that one too, man. Uh, it's I like that kind of mystique. Like the guy's so enwrapped, like he's so entranced into what's going on, right? So you see him. There's something about like it's like every anime. I don't know what it is, So I've watched so much over these last 6 months, like I've said. But it's like in every there's like that archetype for almost every character in almost every anime, and you can say that about a lot of animation just in America here too. You've always got that one. It's like you see it more in movies and live action, especially in the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s. You got that jock, you've got that geek, you've got the cheerleader, right? Essentially the Scooby-Doo gang, right? You've got those archetypes. And it's something about a character that always walks with his hands in his pockets that it's just like, you know what I mean? Like, he is the cool guy. Like, look at Spike from Cowboy Bebop. Always
yeah,
had his hand in his pockets, you know what I mean? So it's that same mystique, but I liken it to like he is so like focused on the goal. Like he has got a task at hand. Like he has to save his mom. He has to get stronger so he can go and do this, that he doesn't really have time to think about like the little bullshit like, oh,
yeah.
are these guys
All
here for me? So,
all the politics and all that stuff.
yeah, he's like somebody else smarter and more intelligent that actually gives, because I'm a lot like that too. It's like somebody will bring up something at work, right? When it comes to politics, we'll just use that for an example since you threw that word out there. And they're like, you know what I mean? Like, you should be upset about this. And I'm like, I'm really fucking not, man. And he's like, why not? And I was like, there's so much more shit that I've got going on that I actually give a shit about. Like, I'm glad you feel passionate about this, but I'm just like, meh, fuck it. If it affects me, I think I'll talk about it later. But I'm like, I've been very focused this week, especially on like just trying not to let anything invade my domain, essentially not let anything just get into my dojo and fuck up what's going on. Just trying to have good days every day. You know what I mean? So, but it's something that I like about that aloofness to Jin. I was really trying to channel my inner Jin Woo, just like, oh fuck, that's going on here now too. So we see this happen. We see them get reclassified. You kind of see a lot more stuff start to happen when it comes to just the inner workings. I think right after this, you see the first ant pop up. So it's throwing that little prelude, like the ant flies over and then he lands and then he's walking up and like two hunters are walking up on this island and they go, yo, what's that guy doing? And they realize like, oh shit, that's the ant. And they foreshadowed since the beginning of this episode the Jeju. And what's crazy is I found out Jeju Island. I'm pretty sure am I pronouncing that correctly or
Yeah,
Jeju? Okay.
Jeju.
So I was reading the book, right? So I'm way past this, and they talk about this, and then I just happened to like Google something or pull up Instagram, and they were talking about things to do in Jeju. I'm like, oh shit, this is a real. I thought this was a
Yeah,
fictitious place. Like I know we're talking about Korea, but I thought this was like Gotham. They've got L.A. and Gotham and D.C. So I thought that's what that shit was. You know what I mean? But
fucking Gotham in Korea. Holy shit,
You
that's
know,
hilarious.
so I'm sitting there, this ant pops up, and I'm like, okay, cool, shit's about to happen. So you start to get a little bit more backstory. And this is kind of where it gets fuzzy, because you would think with as much stuff as we've already talked about so far, like you would think like, oh shit, that we're like episode 15. Ladies and gentlemen, there's only 13 episodes. There's 12 of season one and then 13 of season two. So this is like the pacing on this show. I don't think it's brought up enough. We talked about that intro song. We talked about how beautiful the animation, how fun the story is, some of the characters so far. But I think the pacing on this is so tight. Like the editing is so tight on this, man. When it comes to like that aspect in general, how do you like it? Would you like some of the stuff more drawn out? Do you think it's pretty good and pretty on point? Where do you think about this as far as pacing goes?
Well, now that I'm older, I prefer a lot like higher
You're old.
quality. Yeah,
You're
I
old.
prefer a lot like higher quality episodes over quantity episodes. It depends on the anime too, right? Because like Solo Leveling, when you look at it as a whole, it's not too big of a read. It's like 200 something chapters, I think,
Mhm.
for this first part. But you look at like Naruto, it has like what 500 chapters, I want to say, close to that. Um, then you can see where like kind of where they need the 24 episode seasons. But these 12 episode seasons are much more better to digest. It's easier to
Mhm.
digest. Animation quality is better. Um, Story wise, again, it's tighter, no fillers, none of that extra shit. But I prefer storytelling like this and waiting like a year and a half for it versus like very cheap quality animation and then getting it every year and it just like fillers and stuff like that. I don't know. It depends on the viewer, but now that I'm older, it's just like I prefer shorter episodes because my brain cannot I cannot withhold all that information anymore. It's just like there's just so much like content, material, art, and like, anime is like so mainstream now. So you're sacrificing one anime to watch another one, and it's a lot. So Solo Leveling, I think what they're doing right now with pacing wise, story wise, I think it's good what they're doing. Like, but I kind of sucks too though is like there's no release date for season 3, so that's why if whoever's watching this podcast episode, go just read it because by the time you get done reading it, season 3 would drop.
Oh yeah, I think it's funny because so this one has been so popular at work. Like we've hired so many new people, and there's like so many people that are into anime that have been hired, and it's just like I just keep getting hit left and rights with, hey, you gotta watch this. Like that's why I text you. Like I reached out and like, hey man, these fucking nerds over here are saying this. Like, is it good? Should I check it out? Because you got a pretty good sense of like what I like, man. Like I'm not into like the overly like fucking dark. I tried watching Chainsaw Man. It's so fucking like it's cool. I love it, but it's just like it's too a little too hardcore for me. I feel like I'm too old when it comes to that. It's the same thing with Demon Slayer. I'm gonna give Demon Slayer another shot though, just because Hayden's been talking about it a lot and he's been talking it up. He's
You got to
really
take it to the
excited for what's
movies,
coming.
man. Once the movies
That's
drop, you get
well, that's what he wants to do, but it's like the nearest one to us. It's like a fucking hour and a half, which isn't too
oh shit.
bad, but like every weekend or not every weekend, every time they've went to go drop it, and it's only for like 2 weeks that it's in theaters for us around us and shit. It's like he's got a tournament, and I'm like, all right, do you want to go to the tournament or you want to watch this? I was like, well, we already paid for the tournament, you know what I mean? But I want to take him to go see those, but I also need to catch up, and then plus he's been fucking riding my ass about Jujutsu Kaisen season 2. I need to finish it so I can.
Yeah.
I know it's just there's so much shit,
Yeah, I'm telling you,
but
it's the same for me. There's just a lot to take in now. It just like or pause, but like it's there's a lot of stuff to there's a lot of stuff to to remember. It's just
yes,
like um
no
it,
Diddy,
it no Diddy, yeah, no Diddy.
no doubt.
When I heard that come out of my mouth, no Diddy. Like when I heard myself say that, it just like my mind went to the gutter. I was like, holy shit.
It happens to the best of us, man. So I agree with you, dude. I would much rather 12 to 13 episodes of something that is like fucking tight, good, storylines there, animations there. You don't have like any kind of, lack in any department within the series. I like that a little bit better. And plus, I'm one of those guys that even though you guys have heard me say like I had to read ahead for this one because I wanted to know, it sounds like I don't have patience, but I really do. I love the week to week, and I wish they would do at the very least, they released sub in the morning on like Crunchyroll. I wish they would release dub later that night so I didn't have to be 2 or 3 weeks behind on dub. I
Uh,
wish they could get to a point where they could do that because I love watching it in sub, but I love being able to like, oh fuck, I have to go watch it in dub now because maybe there was something that was lost in translation. It was just an excuse for me to watch it again so I can retain it a little bit more. This is probably like the most factual not excuse me, factual. This is probably like the most things that I've been able to pull from an anime whenever you and I have done one. I feel like, oh fuck, man. Me and Ricky, we're not peers yet when it comes to anime. He's still got some years on me, but I'm like, I'm close to it right here. This is like one of the ones that like has stuck with me so much over these last couple months because it's so fucking good. And getting it back to the pacing, I think that's where it's at. I think you tell a concise story, 12 to 13 episodes. You really hammer it in. You really iron out all of like the fillers because there's not a lot of filler in the book, but there's a lot of things that you really don't need to like progress that story, which is like in most stories for anything, right? So I love what they've highlighted, what they've picked, and what they've kind of stuck to. And then this is like where you see not so much a tonal shift in the series, but you definitely see a shift, right? You start seeing all of the S ranks come in. This first ant starts to fly around, so these ants are starting to get invaded. I think it took like I think they had killed like six hunters or nine hunters or something like that, two A's to take down this one ant that was flying around. So it was doing some damage. So they know that they're gonna have to go back and they're gonna have to fight these ants again, right, man? So that's when other countries, right? So you'd already heard about America. So you have to assume at that point Japan's got one, Russia's got one, UK's got some, but you see Japan kind of come over and say, "Hey, we're going to take care of this problem for you. We're going to help little brother out here in excuse me, in Korea. We're going to help you guys." You know what I mean?
Imagine
They try to,
hunters from North Korea, dude.
yeah,
Holy shit.
you
How
know,
powerful those guys would be. Dude, they have like nuclear powers.
bruh. So you see them coming over and you see them wanting, they're like, there's an ulterior motive, of course, right?
Oh yeah.
So you see that play out with the government for Japan and then the guilds that come over. But they're like, we need to do a joint operation. And from the beginning, you kind of feel like there's something off. And then once you get about halfway through, you realize like this was always to wipe out Korea's S rank hunters. They were going to leave them high and dry. They weren't going to come in there and really save them. They were going to give the illusion that they were there to help. And then they essentially wipe out one of their enemies. And now they can kind of control the Pacific if all of the S rank hunters are out, right? So you see that kind of flip, man. What I loved about this before we even get to that is you see all of these S ranks come in and it's like a power training. It's like fuck man, what was it called? What was the chamber called in Dragon Ball Z they all went to?
Oh, the
The hyperbolic
hyperbolic.
chamber.
Yeah.
Hyperbolic chamber, right? So it's like that sequence, right, of an episode. They're all training, they're all getting stronger. They want to see what the other S ranks can do. They've got this guy, excuse me, it's Goto. Is it Goto or Gojo? No, Gojo is demon. Excuse me.
Right.
Jujitsu. Goto. Yeah, is this one. You see the top hunter in Japan. He's kind of hanging in the wings. These guys are getting into it. Hunter Choi, excuse me, Cha. I call her the dancer or something like that because of how she moves. How her fight style is so beautiful. I love how they have like, it's not just one standard fight style for all the hunters, right? There's a little bit that makes them all different. But Hunter Cha in particular, when she starts moving and then she's dodging and evading like she's dancing, and they kind of allude like, oh, she hates that name because she wants to be taken serious and all this other shit. It was just such a cool departure from what we've seen at that point because it's just been like brutal, tank rogue-esque hunting at that point with some spell casting. You don't really see the finesse that it was with fighting, right? The art form that it was until you see her kind of fight. And then shit kind of hits the fan with all the S ranks and then number 1 in Japan and newly ranked S rank for Korea, Mr. Jin Sung Woo or Sung Jin Woo. They get into it. And this is a cool fucking moment right here, man. So break it down for this. We're doing the training montage. These two go at it. What happens? What do you see? What do you like? What do you not like?
I mean, I really like this is like every typical anime fashion where they do like a tournament arc or like where they I want to say it's always like a tournament arc. This
Hmm.
is pretty much their small tournament arc. You see other characters or other S class hunters jump in, and it's like, oh, who are these characters? Look how strong they are, and it kind of gives you the idea or the illusion, like, all right, so some of these guys might survive. Um, so it was cool seeing Japan come in and train with the Korean S class hunters, and just seeing the different skill sets, the fight styles, and stuff like that. No one really stood out to me besides like the number one guy, Godo.
Hmm.
I just wanted to see more of his power since they were like, oh man, he's the best one, and plus he's the one that caught Jinwoo's attention. Jinwoo's like, all right, this guy's legit, you know, um, and it was just cool to see like they had to also like pull back on the sparring because like, oh, you want to make sure like Guildmaster Big doesn't go full on beast mode,
Hmm.
like he's crazy.
I wanted to see it so
Yeah,
bad. I wanted to see it so fuck because they've been alluding and alluding and alluding, since like the second or third episode when he comes out and him and Dong Su are at it. You see the claws kind of come out. You see him start to glow. I'm like, all right, let's fucking go. This isn't like Jujutsu Kaisen when Homeboy goes monkey mode for the gorilla when Panda goes monkey mode. But I was like, please go fucking tiger mode.
yeah. So they it was just cool seeing all the S class like get shown like, okay, we got some legit fighters here. But nothing. I mean, like the moment that really stood out to me though was the end when Jinwoo like attaches his shadows onto them. I thought that was a cool trick where he was like,
Yeah.
because I think by that time he learned the exchange.
Hmm.
because he went after he got the potion for his mom. He learned a new skill and all that stuff too. So I thought that was cool. Like, okay, so Jinwoo's not like he's keeping tabs on them, but he's just also like, yeah, I don't really care about what you guys do over there.
And he had another dope line too. He's smiling at Godo the entire time, and he catches him by the wrist, and that's when he kind of does puts a shadow on this guy. But he goes, "Man, we're really gonna lose an eye if I would have let you hit me right there." And he's got like a little scratch underneath of his eye, and it was such a badass move. And what I loved about this, because they don't really allude to it too much, but you see it within some of the hunters, like you see it in Dong Su, you see it in the guys, Godo, you see it in the dude that almost looked like oh fuck, what's Homeboy's name from My Hero? He's got the purple hair. He was in the support class. He comes over. He's learning from Aizawa. He can
Oh,
if he
Shinzo.
talks Shinzo. I know it started with a sheep, but he's almost got like that vibe to him. I think he was the one fighting Cha, and then
Oh yeah, yeah,
you
and he
you
and
you
he
hear the
saves he
murderous
saves her.
intent. Yeah. So you hear like it's like, oh, these guys' energy, it builds up and builds up so much, and then it goes from like D&D, it goes from them being essentially oh fuck, what's the shit? What are the breakdowns, like chaotic evil, chaotic good, like
Oh yeah.
those things. So you see him as like essentially the White Knight type of thing, and then he goes to like that murderous intent, so chaotic evil type of thing, and you kind of see him step in, and you see him, like I said, number one Japan going against newly ranked S rank, and it kind of stops after there. And another moment that I absolutely love, I think President goes up there and he's talking to his secret agent man. Essentially, fuck, I wish I could remember his name because he's such a cool character. But they go, hey man, this place has been reinforced, right? Is it like are we gonna be okay? He's like the power levels, like because every time they would clash or every time they would bounce, like you would see things reverberate, you would see the kind of the concrete crumble and start to shift. And you're like, oh man, are they gonna bring down this whole building? And they're like not even throwing punches yet. So it was really cool seeing like the test of strength episodes. You see the plans kind of divvied up. Japan goes, hey man, we're gonna help you out here. We're doing this all for, we're just trying to be good people. You kind of see the ulterior motives, and you see a plan set forth to raid the island. Japan is going to take care of all of the outside ants, and it's going to be up to Korea to go in there and completely clear the raid, go inside, kill the queen ant. That's the goal. What was it? They had done it 3 times before or some shit like that, and they had wiped the party. And in between that sequence, and I think this is a very important part, and this part actually makes me tear up. The second to last episode, maybe it's the last episode. Um, but you see Bake reach out to a former friend and a former S rank healer, right? And this guy gets out. He had seen some shit. He was a part of the Jeju Island raids. Really gets PTSD, doesn't want to fight, right? So, you see Bake trying to kind of convince him to come back, say, hey, we really need you for this. It's for those fallen comrades. And the guy, they're sitting there, they're enjoying dim sum, they're enjoying drinks or whatever they're eating, and drinking and shit like that. And then they're just talking and catching up from old times, right? And you kind of like get left at that, like, oh, he's not going to join the raid. But then you kind of see them flip up. They're getting ready. They got that Vietnam like moment, right? Everybody's in the fucking chopper. Everybody's got like war on their brain. They got the music playing. They're just all just trying to get in their shit, right? And you see Homeboy pop up and he's like, oh shit. And this is like the first time you see Bake where he's like, he's at ease. Essentially, he's like, okay, if he's here, I know this guy's got me. He's the healer. He's my best friend type of thing. And then the war kind of like just goes off, right? The queen realizes what's going on. She goes, we need something stronger. Biru, the king ant, essentially, is born. And then the raid just starts, right? So they go through some shit. The raid teams on both sides, they're picking off ants left and right. They're making their way down to the queen's chamber. And then they get to the queen. They take some serious damage, but they end up killing her. And then Biru is essentially the king ant, ladies and gentlemen. He's flying around. He's going around on the outside, and he just starts picking people off left and right. And it's very like aliens like, right? Right, the movie where you don't see the alien pop up through the movie. You see it like alluded to, which makes it even more terrifying. So you see this horror movie aspect with Biru going around killing Japan's S rank hunters, and then eventually you see Biru, Goto get into it. The Korean party, they're getting into it. We completely skipped over the wait, was that it? Did they do this the high school raid in this one? The Red Orcs?
No, that's after.
Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, spoiler alert on that one. So we'll talk
But
about that
we
one
we
later.
we passed we passed over Jinwoo's arc where he got the potion. Well, we can talk about that later.
That's right. The demon lord. So let's actually let's put a pin in that one. We'll talk about that one real quick. So Jinwoo's on that side quest, right, to get this potion to save his mom. He's got to go through 100 levels to get to the demon lord because this is the last thing he needs to fill out this elixir. So take us through it, man. He gets this key. He's going through this shit. What happens next, Ricky?
You know what I liked about this part is like it's kind of like a safe point where he cleared out levels and left, and then came back and went to clear out the
Yeah,
rest. I like that. I like that they kind of gave that like okay, so
autosave
he doesn't have
enabled.
right. He doesn't have to like oh shit, do it all over again. You know, he just all right, go back to where he left off. But I do like that. You know, they gave it was like this mission that he had to do. He was collecting the key items. That's when he runs to the demon girl, who's only in that arc.
Which is
I don't think
crazy with how much the fan base talks about her.
yeah, I mean she's in the opening too. You know, everyone
Hmm
was like excited to see her, and like you know, and that this is where like we talked about like the system, right? Because he learns more about the system through her. He's
hmm
like, okay, so you know, I believe it's this part where like the system tells him like you keep opening these you keep asking these questions, you can't go back, you can't
Fuck
backtrack.
around and
So
find out, essentially, ladies and gentlemen.
and he learns he learns a little about the history about like why the orcs and
Hmm
all the monsters are coming through the raid because the voices are telling us to come and to defend the lands and stuff like that. So there's like a overarching scheme going on. He meets her father, tells him that like, hey, we're gonna, I need her for this mission. I'll bring her back safely. And then it's just cool to see him like to see how strong Jinwoo gets. You know, because the more levels he cleared out, he gains levels. His soldiers gain levels. And I talked about the colors of Egress. Like he went from like blue to purple. You know, like you're seeing the shadows grow levels. And then this is where he fights the final boss of
hmm
the 100 levels to get the demon blood. I forgot the name of the of that demon, but like that fight scene was
Demon Lord
so
Baron or Baron Lord Demon or some shit like that.
something. But that fight scene, dude, I think honestly, everyone's like obsessed with Jinwoo fighting Beru. I was like, dude, this fight scene was actually I thought it was better than that. Like, cause
Yeah, I
it
do
took
too.
because you see Iron, you see Egress, you see the polar bear, like they're all fighting together against
And
this
Fang.
one demon. Yeah, and Fang,
He
and
gives
Fang,
Fang the orb. He gives Fang the orb that he gets to make
yeah,
him just
dude, and
demolish shit.
again, the whole gaming aspect. You know, he's equipping his guys with items.
Hmm
You know, like
Trinkets and shit.
yeah, and that's all. I think the inner nerd me just like it's like Final Fantasy. It's like all right, you
Hmm
don't want to equip yourself with all the good items because your teammates are gonna have shitty items. So you want to spread that pretty even. Like oh,
Yeah.
my guy's more magic concentrated. Give him a magic orb. It increases stats. You know, oh give Egress a sword. He needs that because he's the knight. So his stats go up. So he's like leveling up his team and just seeing that whole teamwork where they're fighting the demon and just like it was so cool seeing that. And then you see like Jinwoo get pushed to his limits where he's fist fighting him at this point. His where
hmm
he loses his shadows. It's just him, you know, and he's about to lose, and then the demon girl, the princess, saves him. You know, she jumps in the match, and he hits the demon with like with a fucking Shoryuken from Street Fighter. You know, he uppercuts the hell out of him, beats him, dude. I was like, dude, that like this fight scene gets. I feel like it gets overlooked so much. Like the way how they animated it, and it was just and the sense of urgency that Janu had in this fight. I think that's what stole it for me was the fact that okay, it's not the fact that he's just fighting to be strong or get stronger. He's trying to save his mom.
He's in peril. This is the
Yeah,
first time you see him like, fuck, I might lose this. Is this fight sequence? I watched something recently, so I can't remember if I'm conflating the two. In this fight sequence, when he delivers like that last blow or leading up to that last blow, is that where they do that like mixed animation where it's like white, black, and red? It looks like very, very like rough. Do
yeah,
whatever that fucking style is, like you see it in so much in like I call it the Spider-Man into the Spider-Verse effect, and I call it mixed media. I don't really know what else to
yeah,
fucking call it. But whenever they take that traditional like the animation that they're typically doing for this anime and they change it into that where it's like super primal, it's super like it's like in the mud type of fighting type of shit. You're like it's in the trenches. You see that like gorilla like just like that primal instinct, and they do that with the art style. That's what sets like fight scenes apart for me throughout the series. Like that fight scene, I'm so glad you brought it up and made that point. It's such an overlooked fight sequence, but it's so dope. And it goes to like when he's fighting the dragon, right? So he kills the dragon. The guy has to fight him on the ground. He was like, "Man, I'm kind of glad I took that. I was tired of having to look up at you." Another fucking badass like one-liner that Jinwoo gets, and you're just like, "Fuck, dude, this dude's such a badass, man."
Yeah, again, I think that's why like the small arc was a highlight for me, especially because just because of what was
Hmm.
on the line, what he was fighting for was on the line. He wasn't there. Of course, he's saving his like other hunters and stuff. But when it comes to like for me as a character, when you see like when they're fighting for their personal things, I
Hmm.
think it hits home a lot harder. It's just like okay, he's not there to
He's for his
he's
mom, dude.
yeah, exactly. It's for his mom. Like he's not there to prove anything. He's there to just save his mom. And
Hmm.
when he gets to the part where he wins, he leaves. You know, everyone gave this shit too. The scene where when he revives his mom. A lot of the fandom gave shit to this scene. Like, oh, why is Jinwoo like crying? Like, dude,
It's
you would be
such a stupid question too.
like you would be crying too if you finally saved your mom from this like incurable coma. Like shout out to Trap Dragon Z or the Trap Dragon podcast. I think that's their name. Like they do a podcast and like Dragon Ball Z content and stuff like that. I believe they're from Texas too. Shout out to him because he made this clip where like dude like or he made this comment I believe where he was like dude like people can't you can't cry about your mom anymore like that's fucked up because like it's part of Jinwoo's character. He cannot be this badass all the time.
The whole
He
reason he's
can't
doing
moral
it.
farm all the time, you know.
Yeah.
So like I shared his quote or his comment on my Instagram story too. I'm like dude this is like I agree with him like this is why like this is what sets Jinwoo apart from everyone else. Like
Hmm.
he didn't care about anything else because he was there. The whole point of him getting stronger was to save himself and to save his mom.
Absolutely.
And I loved it. I loved that scene. I thought it was amazing. It was great. It was a great way to see the different personality side of Jinwoo. Like he
It brought
stayed
the humanity
strong.
back in him.
Yeah, exactly. Like he stayed strong so long, and then when he finally saved his mom, he broke down. Like all his hard work paid off, and I loved it. I loved that scene.
And in my opinion, if it was up to Jin Woo, his story ends there.
Yeah,
He did everything he needed. Michael Jordan essentially, right? He won those titles. He's done. He doesn't have to prove anything anymore. You know what I mean? And if those monsters all went away, I don't think you would see him fucking reminiscing when he's 60. He's like, fuck, I wish I would have had 2 more years as a hunter to really do some cool shit. Like, no, he did everything everybody wants to do. He had a dream, he had a goal, he had an initiative, he had a task at hand, and he got to finish that on his fucking what is it called? He got to finish it his way, right?
yep.
He got to tell the ending to his story his way, and it came out exactly how he wanted. It was the hero's ending, you know what I mean? And it's such you make such a great point on that, and I'm gonna fuck up that point by saying I loved when they had all the electricity when he was using the sword. Your heartfelt shit goes, man, that was really cool, and they brought electricity into this fight scene.
Yeah, it's that I think that's this that was a great point just to show like the humanity of Jinmu. Like
Hmm.
all those the fights he was doing, the pain he took, hell, even taking some of the lives that he had to. It
Yeah.
fucked up, but like it paid off for him. And I think that's what makes his character, at least at this point, great. Um, but it's just funny like during this whole Jeju Island stuff, like the a lot of the memes too were like Jinmu is doing like side quests while everyone's like fighting for their lives in Jeju Island, because like pretty much after he saves his mom, that's when he learns about Jeju Island and he just like yeah I don't really want to go to Jeju Island with y'all like you guys are good.
Homeboy's trying to get a scholarship.
Yeah, exactly. He's still doing his daily run, his push-ups and stuff. He's like, all right, I'm on vacation mode, and
Has he already tapped out on what he can accomplish on dailies yet? Do they? I can't remember if they make it a point in this season or not.
I don't recall. I just know he still has to do it. Like
Okay.
I think he taps out on certain skills. Like he maxes out certain skills or like powers that he has, but I think his dailies. That's like again. I said like it's a game, so he has to do it every day. But it's just funny seeing that like when you're looking at it from the outside in and just seeing how like everyone in Jeju Island's like fighting for their lives, like oh my god, we can't kill these ants. Jinwoo's just off in the park running. He's like
Yeah.
it's whatever.
just doing one-handed push-ups while everybody else is struggling, smoking a cigarette while he runs. Um, so let's flash forward to where we were just at before we had to take a small break because we definitely, like I said, we overlooked like that thing that like everybody else overlooks. And it wasn't intentional, ladies and gentlemen. Like I said, that is a fight sequence that I love, and we'll actually rank these fight sequences here shortly. Now we're to the main event. This is what they've been bringing up all season long. Excuse me. All season long, they've been talking about Jeju. They've been talking about the queen ant. They've been talking about the ants, and now you find out, oh shit, they have evolved this entire time. Right. Every time they've raided, they've evolved to like essentially beat back the hunters. They learn from their mistakes. So the game is learning. Essentially, it's AI. I think at the end of the day is what it is. Not really. AI don't come after me. Um, but you see these things like start to happen, and then so Japan's taking care of the outside. They're blasting all the ants. Choi, the fire mage, puts a net essentially over the ant hill so nothing can come in, nothing can get out, and their goal is to go take care of this queen ant. They get down there. They've got a filmer, or they got a, excuse me, cameraman down there the entire time. He's recording the process because the people back home need hope that this is going to be the finality of Jeju Island raid, and they can put this one to bed. And Korea will finally join every other power nation, every other big nation, and being able to clear an S rank raid by themselves. This was like the last step for them. And like you said, Jinwoo's off by himself. They're fighting everything, and then everything that can go wrong will go wrong. Biru is essentially born, and he's going around fucking up everybody, looking for his adversary's king because he wants to fight whoever the strongest. And what I thought was really, really cool is when this ant kills, he absorbs the power of the person that he killed, which I think it'll prove to be very, very big towards the end of the series and as you get further in, just because he is that Swiss Army knife. You can put him in any kind of position. He's going to come up with something. Um, Kills Goto, Japan's number one. He fucks up the entire S rank party, cuts off the tank's arm. He kills the healer, which was one of the most. That was one of the toughest moments for me. Is when they kill the hunter, or excuse me, they kill the healer right away after they point out, and they're alluding to, he's going to get it. If you read it ahead, he's going to get it, but there's just something about the like the foreshadowing, like, oh, you're not gonna beat us with the best hunter or the best healer we've got. We've got the best healer, and he's like, oh, I'm in the shadows, nobody can see me. I'm like, oh, brother, you're gonna get got. He's gonna get got, and he ends up getting got. It fucking completely changes the landscape. Bake, just completely crumbles. He's like, oh fuck, we're all gonna die. Choi is laying in a pool of blood. She's about to die. Like the team is in the guild is in bad straits, right? They legitimately think everything's about to go black. The camera sequence gets killed, so they have no live feed. They don't know what's going on with the hunters. They don't know where they're at with this stuff. Biru shows up, fucking wipes everybody out, and then Jinwoo comes in, and essentially he's like, "What's up?" Biru's like, "What's up?" And they go, "Gang, gang." Hands get thrown. Ricky, pick it up. Where we at?
It's the. I mean, like the second to last episode, I was in awe of that whole sequence when Beru took out the S rank
Mm-hmm.
hunters. It really just showed you the S class hunters ain't shit. Like they're
Mm-hmm.
all this hype and they got beaten down easily. And we talked about music, dude. The Dark Aria soundtrack played on this. Such a good callback to season one when Jinmu was killing the other hunters in that cave.
Mm-hmm.
When he killed the S class hunter's brother. Like it's the same song. He killed six hunters in that cave, same way how Beru killed or knocked out the six S class hunters in his cave, and just like beautiful parallel seeing that. And when the song was playing, dude, I was like in awe, and even my sister, she was like, "What are you watching? Like, why are they losing?" And I was like, "Dude, they just got their asses handed to them." And it was just an incredible scene, and this showed like I love like the build up and also like the sense of fear that these S class hunters had.
Mm-hmm.
It was like oh man, we have our Avengers our Avengers in here, and we're getting destroyed. And just seeing that whole sequence play out was phenomenal. I loved it, and everyone's just like trying to survive because even before that, Barry was going around killing everyone in the island, and he was
Mm-hmm.
like taking off heads. He's Japan was like panicking because like even yeah, because even the episode before that, that one girl who was like talking like they were gonna clear out these ants, like, oh, we got this is easy. She gets her head taken off, you know, like
Hmm.
I loved all of that buildup. And you know, when you see like when all the Korean S class hunters start retreating and you see Jinwoo's shadows pull up and that whole scene of just Jinwoo on top of the building, he's like exchange, and then you know that the cliffhangers this season were is what made it so good too,
Dude.
because every freaking cliffhanger was like I wanted to throw my phone at the TV. I was so mad.
Dude, there was plenty of times where cause I love the beef cup ramen, right? So that's generally the snack that I'm eating during it because if you eat chips, chips are too fucking loud. You eat popcorn, popcorn's too fucking loud. I've already got to read, but I still want to hear some sound. I want to hear the music and shit. So ramen is my typical go-to for it, right? And I'm sitting there, I'm eating it. And every fucking time it left off on one of those cliffhangers, one of the big ones where Jinwoo's looking down, then Jinwoo looks up and his eyes light up for the first time. And I think it was when he said that he was like, I was wondering if you guys felt fear. You know, every time you get a cliffhanger, my ramen would burn the fuck out of my leg because I'm like, mother, out of nowhere, it's just credits. I'm like, motherfucker, dude, really? Forget I got the ramen in my hand, splashed it on my knee, burned my knee, get a little upset. But totally worth the burn, dude.
Yeah,
The first thought, and I'm so glad you brought, ever since you brought up the Zoolander reference, every time we started talking about scenes, there's been a couple scenes that have popped up that have made me think about movie references, right? And you know, so you got the Grandma's Boy one, you got the Zoolander one. Here's a Men in Black one. Remember in the first Men in Black where it's at the end of the movie, the cockroach kind of comes out, Will Smith's looking down, and then he slowly looks up, and they got that pan out shot of him looking up at the fucking the roach or whatever it is at the end of the first one. You get that with him and Biru. Like he was like, "Are you the king?" And then, you know, Jinwoo essentially hits him with one of those badass one-liners. He's like, "We'll find out, you know, fuck around and find out." So he's looking up at him and they just go to war, right?
yeah,
And all of like he hits all of the hunters with some potions and stuff like that, heals them up. Guy grows his arm back. Oh no, I think he grows his arm back from the healer before he gets whacked. But you know, so he's handing out things and he's realizing like, oh shit, I can't get Cha to. She's so close to death. None of the potions work. The potion of life doesn't work that brought his mom back. Nothing's working. He needs a healer, right? So they're trying to get out of here. They have to go through this guy in order to get out to save her life and to like finish this raid. And the fight sequences, this one is just so beautiful, right? So the music
yeah.
you were talking about while he's fighting just amplified it, right? And I didn't realize that that was the same song that they did with that one. So I love that you brought that back up. So I'm gonna go back and watch those two fight sequences. But it was just so cool. This one was one of the more fast-paced fight sequences. I wish they would have slowed it down just a touch. But I think if you slow it down, you kind of take away from Biru, which isn't really cool because you do see like that power, that speed, that agility throughout the book. And so you don't ever really want to nerf him down too much. But I really think like this one, the only thing that I can critique it on is like I wish that the fight sequence was a little bit longer, and I wish you could have seen just a touch more other than just those initial clashes, right? I want to see a little bit. This is me saying I want to see technique in a fucking bug fight, man. I just wanted to see a little bit more, and then that's just me being picky and wanting more, really, than anything.
I thought it was good overall. I mean, compared to the manhwa, Jinwoo like took him out way faster.
Yeah,
You know, I'm kind of glad that the anime or the animators showed like the
let it
fans like, okay,
marinate.
yeah, Beru is like, you know, he's still a force, but
Hmm.
again, Jinwoo being the main character and having all the plot armor, like they made the fight seem pretty fair up until the
Hmm.
end where Jinwoo was just like slapping the shit out of him, and then like I
Yeah.
love the intricate details, like and he when he like maxes out his skill and he's like, all right, use mutilate, and like he just
Hmm.
cutting up Beru and like just whooping his ass, and like you see Barry like using the ice.
The fear
Yeah,
too.
yeah, Barry's using everything. He evolves in the fight. He uses ice powers. He's like doing
Dude, he's
everything he
Cell.
can. Yeah, he's doing everything he can to take out Jinwoo,
Fuck.
and Jinwoo's just still like it's nothing to him. And that's when he starts crawling around like an actual ant. And
Hmm.
I thought that scene was funny too, because like a lot of folks were like using the like you know like those fly whackers, the electric ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're using that, and like there's like that's Jinwoo like beating the shit out of Beru with those fly whackers. So I thought that was kind of
Uh,
funny too.
I love seeing like the fear because he's like just because you see that primal instinct in the animal. It's like fight or flight. He's like, I got to get away. I got to run. I got to run. I got to run. So it was so cool seeing that. Because you definitely remember we were talking Jujutsu Kaisen season one at the end when you see the two poison brothers or whatever they were. You see the one when he loses him. He's like, oh shit, I just lost my brother, and that was the first time you see the guys realize like, oh shit, demons, they have feelings, even though they're fucked up human, or they're not human beings, but like they're fucked up like things. He was like, they can still feel for one another like we feel. So it was like that humanizing aspect, but it was making that ant seem a little bit more realistic. And I really like that aspect. I love seeing like, fuck, I got to get out of here. That like all of my senses are saying I can't win. I got to run, 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 evolve again, right? Um, I love this fight scene, so obviously, ladies and gentlemen, he kills Biru, brings him back, and he is now like I can't remember the rank, but it was like what admiral or some shit like that or
Yeah,
general,
like general admiral, so some high rank because he
so high
actually gets like
ranking.
a he's pretty much the new leader of his shadow pretty
Hmm.
much. He's a higher rank than all of them, and even then too, like seeing how like after the 1v1 with Beru, like once all the ants flew in to fight, and
Hmm.
Jinwoo's like, all right, everyone summons all his guys, and they all go into war too. So I thought
Yeah.
that was really cool seeing that.
Yes.
Uh, but yeah, just seeing that whole sequence, man, like just break down and seeing how like because a lot of the fans were already like hyping up Beer, like oh man, you guys love Eagers, like everyone's gonna love Beer even more, you know. So that
Egress
was
is still my
very
guy. Egress
same,
is still my guy.
same. It was really cool to see that and like to see that Jinwoo was like leveling up during that fight, and when he's able to summon him, like even the way how he resurrected him, like he wasn't even sure if he did it because like the whole
Hmm.
like the field went black, and he's like, oh man, like I've never seen this before, you know, and so it was another step up in his resurrection skills and seeing the like after he beat Beru, like he went to save Hunter Cha too, and like and that scene was really good too. Like he revives it, the
Best scene,
healer.
best scene in the
Uh,
entire series right here for me.
yeah, he when he revives, I'm gonna pull up his name. Young Yu when he revives him, dude. Like I was like, because I didn't read, I wasn't reading the manual at this point, so I thought I was like, oh man, he's gonna have a healer in his team too. Like, oh man, this team's gonna be too stacked. But seeing Hunter Bake be like, hey, let him go. Like
Yeah,
I
he
want you to
didn't
let him
like to
go.
fight. And well, Biru actually can heal. He can't heal crazy because if you remember, every time he would kill somebody, he would absorb that power. So he actually tries to like revive Cha, and he realizes, oh shit, I can't do this. So you see, because Jinwoo still he's out as the S rank hunter, but I don't think he's comfortable letting like everybody see what he can do because you got to have some
Yeah,
kind of mystique. You don't want everybody to see your cards, right? So he's like, turn the fucking camera off. He goes and he resurrects Bake's friend, the guy that did not want to come back, that he had dinner with, his best friend, the best healer, the guy that gets whacked by Biru, and he brings him back. And it's such a powerful moment, dude, because in the book, dude, I think it's like one of the last couple pages of that book. And I got like, usually I was just burning through the books as fast as I could. And like after I finished that one, I was like, "Fuck, dude, I gotta take a break for the rest of the night." It was a heavy moment, dude, because you see him revive or you see him resurrect essentially, or pull his shadow, arise essentially, and then you see him go do what he's supposed to do without even being commanded. And Jinwoo actually says that he was like, he must have been a good healer because I didn't even have to tell him to heal.
yep,
He was the only thing that he didn't have to command do anything. Because if you look at the guys go, all right, you want me to fuck this dude up? He's just like, just let me know, my king. And he's like, yeah, go fuck this dude up. He's like, you got it, man. This is the first time, like, so you see that like there's a different dimension to who he can bring back, right? And then you see Guildmaster Bake again, which we didn't even fucking talk about. I told you I was so stoked for it. When he goes full on White Tiger, I'm
yep.
like, let's fucking go, right? It was such a cool moment just seeing him go straight like primal, like just fucking angry tiger mode, dude.
I, but then the disappointment too is like he got fucking wrecked
Dude, I
from
was so
Beru.
upset. He
Yeah,
went
like
from like here to here. I'm like, oh,
all the S class hunters did because like that's
yeah.
why like at this point I was just like man, you know, like they purposely did that just to show you like all right, none of these characters matter really, like they're
Yeah.
just there for show. But I do like that scene though. When Jinwoo decides like I just needed him to heal her because I can't do it, and then he releases his shadow, and then you just see like Byung Yu's shadow smile back at Bake, and
Yeah,
man, that
that's
was a
it got
very
me.
that was a heartfelt moment right there.
Dude, it made my eyes really like I got goosebumps now thinking about it, man. But it made my eyes super misty when it happened. But it was just his way of letting Bake know he's like, hey man, I'm in a good spot. I did what
Yeah,
I needed to do. I did this. He's like, I didn't have to do. He's like, how do I word this? I didn't need to do this. I had to do this, or I didn't have to do this. I needed to do this type of thing. That's better. Um, and he's okay with what happened, right? So it was him getting closure, essentially him getting peace, and one powerful moment in there. It was the second time, and Jinwoo made sure but Bake knew that. He's like, that was the second time you grabbed my shoulder. He was like, this time you asked me instead of told me to do something. And then he releases the spirit. And like I said, there's a couple moments in here where it's just a fucking panel in the book, but it sticks with you like it was the entire episode, right? And that was that moment for me, and through probably like through the first three books, one of the most powerful moments there is when you see that humanity, like right when him crying with his mom, and you see him realizing that this was just more. This is more than a game. This is more than somebody added to his ranks. This was an actual person that was good, that didn't want to be here, that stepped up when nobody else could step up, and fucking just tried to be like I said, that final wall of defense against the enemy, and then the human race. So it was just a cool, powerful moment, and something I'm so glad that it got its shine. I think it would have been a huge disservice if they didn't have that in the anime, because it would take away tremendously. But like I said, such a cool moment. And as we typically do, like, well, not typically, sometimes I forget this shit. So we've got fight sequences that I told you to think about, like, as we were walking through this. So that was the entire season, ladies and gentlemen. So there are a couple things we'll hit, and then we'll get out of here for the night, man. But so all the sequences, you've got the Ice Elves, you've got the Red Wizard, Warlock, whatever you want to call them. You've got the Baron Lord, you've got Beeroo. Are we missing one? We got the ant, but I'm gonna put that in the entire sequence. I don't think we're missing one as far as like big fight, boss fights, are we?
I mean, then you count the sparring match, like seeing
Yeah, we
Creed
can throw that
fight.
in there too. We can throw that in there too. I think that would rank on my bottom. But what's your top one? What was your favorite? And this is that question I told you to remember. This goes into it. So, what was your favorite fight sequence, and which one do you want to see on the big screen for this one? If you could put in the movie theaters.
Oh, dude, definitely the the Demon Lord,
Yeah.
or the Demon King, Jinwoo's last boss fight for the elixir.
Hmm.
That's the one I wanted to see in theaters because like you see the dragon, you see the Demon Lord, and then you see all the shadows fight. Dude, that again, it's shorter than the Beru fight scene, but I thought that one had way more impact in the anime. This is my take. I thought that fight had way more impact on the story.
Hmm.
Beru was just Jinwoo fighting Beru is a close second one just because that was like the Gohan versus Cell moment. Like that was like the big one that everyone was waiting for. And then I would say my third would be the Warlock one where they fight in the
Yeah.
all those orcs. I thought that's my number three. So those are my top
So.
three fight moments out of this season.
Man, that so I got mine in reverse, dude. So number one, it's got to be Fang, the red warlock. That was my favorite one. Second for sure, Demon Lord. Third, Beeroo. I loved seeing these characters develop. Like the only one you don't kind of see develop fear was the Demon Lord and was the Ice Elf. You see more confusion than you do, but you see like true legitimate fear from the Warlock, and you see true legitimate fear from Beeroo, right? So I think that was just telling, and I thought it was just like a cool tonal shift. Like you didn't really see too much of that up until that first one with that point, with them seeing fear. But yeah, those were my three, and I would love to see out of all three of those ones, hands down, the fucking Warlock fight. But if we're talking season one and season two, which we haven't talked season one yet, we'll talk season one soon, I'm sure. But season one, that Eagers fight, man, that'd be my number one fight sequence so far. When he fights Eagers for the first time. All right, so we talked favorite fight scenes and what we want to see in the cinematic universe. Excuse me, cinematic universe. We're not even to that point yet. But see up on the big screen, man. So overall, man, you're rating this season, and we're not going to rate it like season to season. So just as a standalone season, season two from start to finish, one episode 1 through 13, man. Out of 5 stars, or let's go. Out of 5 Jinwoos, man, how many Jinwoos do you give this series this year or this season?
um, if you asked me this right after the season ended, I would have said five. But
Hmm.
after giving time to digest and just talk about this with you, I give this a solid four, 4.5.
Yeah.
Only
What
because
makes it
like
drop?
just the obvious things. I think reading the manual too kind of affected my thoughts on this show. Like it's not terrible. It's just the
Hmm.
storytelling is just very repetitive to me. So like I I,
Hmm.
I think that's what kind of like took it down a little bit. Like, all right, we see Jinwoo get stronger. Okay, who's he gonna fight? Oh, he fights someone strong. He gets stronger. Just like typical shonen protagonist. There's I don't know. I just felt like after he saved his mom, it was just more like there was no more purpose for Jinwoo. I just kind of lost that. I kind of like where they're at where they're at now, where I'm reading it in the manual, but it's just like there's no more like he doesn't have this sense of urgency anymore. It's just like okay, I saved my mom. I'm good. Like everything else is
Yeah.
a side quest now. So like I don't know. I just felt like that kind of dropped the quality a little bit, but like or just storytelling quality a little bit, but animation quality 5 out of 5, dude.
Oh yeah.
Sound production was 5 out of 5. Animation sound out 5 out of 5. Music's 5 out of 5. Like I said, it's just me nitpicking. Storytelling could have been where they ended this season was good. I
Hmm.
liked where they ended it. It just again the pacing of the story or like just seeing the repetitiveness of it kind of just took it down a little bit for me. But other than that, dude, everything else that makes up Solo Leveling season 2 is freaking phenomenal. I mean, you can't deny it. It's so good, like just quality wise.
It absolutely is, man. And you know me quite well. The fans know me quite well. I'm an easy guy to entertain, dude. Just give me a cool story. Let me veg out for 22 to 23 to 30 minutes. I'm giving this shit 5 Jinwoos out of 5 Jinwoos. I loved every fucking second of it from start to finish. If I can nitpick on anything, and it's like the nitpick of like all nitpicks is so fucking stupid. I just want a little bit of like on the next episode of Solo Leveling at the end when it just rolls credits and it's just the outro. I'm like, can you give me like fucking 5 seconds? I know what's gonna happen, but can you give me like 5 seconds so I can look forward to this shit a little bit more than I'm looking forward to it? You know what I mean? That's the only thing that I can say I liked. Well, no, no, I take that back. And we talked about this either before we hit record or maybe it was the beginning. We did talk about this already, but I wanted to hit it one more time. I loved the voice for Biru for dub vice sub. Excuse me, did I say that right? Sub. I liked it better for sub than dub. It was more menacing, it was more terrifying, right? It was more, like I said, like chaos. It was evil, right? It felt evil. When you get to the American side, it just sounded like a guy in a mat. You know what I mean? It didn't do the same thing that it did. It was my horrible Bane impression. I was born in the darkness. You know what I mean? So it was, I liked it in Japanese more so than I liked it in English. But yeah, 5 out of 5 Jinwoos for me, dude. I'm so looking forward to season 13, season three. Um, without spoiling too much, man. Actually, how far have you read so far?
I'm on like chapter 130, around like 130 to 135, around that area, maybe a little bit more. But it's I've gotten to the part where like you're learning about the monarchs
Okay,
and
okay, yeah, I
the
know where you're at.
backstory of Janu's powers. Like,
Hmm.
I'm getting to that part, and I mean that's the thing too. For the season finale, you see, these other characters. You see Jinwoo's dad come up at the end. You
Hmm.
know, so like it's a good teaser at the end of season 2. Like it made it's honestly what made me want to because like once I saw those characters at the end, I was like whoa, they can open gates, and they're
Hmm.
talking about like there's another one out there. Like okay, like so are these guys like part of the code or the cheat? Do they have a cheat code too? Like are there more characters like Jinmu out there that have that same access to that power or like to power to level up and all that? So that's what made me wanted to read more because like I feel I don't know, don't spoil it for me, but I feel like there is more. If it's just Jinmu that has that power, I'd be kind of mad though. I'm like, dude, that's so stupid because like he really just has that power to himself. I want to see someone, it may be like it may be typical fashion, but I want to see another character with that kind of power too, to see how would Jimmu react if he saw someone that could like cheat the system like he can.
Are you telling me the Spoiler Force host pod or Spoiler Force podcast host doesn't want to be spoiled? Is that what you're telling me right now, Ricky?
Not yet, not yet, not at least
You're
not on
not
the
too
podcast,
far.
not on the
You're not
podcast.
too you're not too far behind me. You're actually pretty close to
Yeah,
where it leaves off. I buy it's like the three in ones, right? So it's like $20. I buy those. So I don't know what I'm on book 11. So I don't know really how many chapters that is. It's three books in each one generally, or three volumes, three arcs, whatever you want to call it. Um, so but what you're talking about, you're not too far off. So I'm really excited to see. Once you get to like the same spot, I'm pretty sure. Are you going to finish it, or are you going to stop? Kind of, where are you going to go?
I know the sequel's already started. Folks have been talking about
Ragnarok.
that. Yeah, I know the sequel started. I think after if I finish solo leveling, I'll probably take a break because I'm still reading like Chainsaw Man. I'm still reading Spy Family. Um, there's other. I'm reading Free Run. I'm reading that manga too. So like, there's a lot of stuff that I'm trying to read and trying to make time for.
Absolutely, man. Well, like I said, dude, I can't wait till you get to the same spot because I'm gonna buy these books. I've actually been thinking about just saying fuck it and just reading them all, finding a way to read them all so I don't have to wait for the books to come out. But the book's really pretty. I love seeing them in color. I love the pages they're putting them on because it's like a smaller version of a graphic novel, right? Um, but this is always fun, man, Ricky. I knew I wanted to get you on here because it was like every episode we were either it was in our group chat or it was in our individual one where we were talking about this series. This has been like my favorite anime so far, like this year, right? I mean, we're only 3 months into this year, and there's some pretty cool stuff that's come out already, and there's some pretty cool stuff getting ready to come out. I mean, Kaiju number 8's getting ready to come out. My Hero is going to wrap up this year. But so far, man, solo leveling for me, it's got first place so far. Anything stack up against this one as far as like where does this one rank as far as animes you've watched this year? Number one, number two, number three?
Uh, it's hard to say because I haven't really made time to watch anything else. Like I'm still
Hmm.
catching up from like the 2023, 2024 animes too. Like
Hmm.
yeah, like that's why I can't really say. I can't really give my opinion on it. Um, but I would say it's giving a good run for its money though. I mean, like don't get me wrong. We're still what this is spring, so we still have summer and fall anime
Hmm.
to watch too. So, well, technically, I want to say Solo Leveling was a winter anime because it started in the winter.
Hmm.
But like now we're in the spring season and we have summer and fall anime. So there's a lot of stuff coming out this year, so it's hard to say. But I'll say that Solo Leveling season 2 has a pretty good spot so far, in terms of anime quality. But again, there's other anime. There's even more hardcore anime fans out there who watch like slice of life or like romance anime that think that that's better than
Hmm.
shonen. So like it's all up in the air. But I'd say Solo Leveling has a good spot so far. It's gonna be a tough one to compare to because everyone's gonna be talking about it. I mean, like from seeing how the reactions were online, that says a lot too. Especially with again with the cliffhangers and it being weekly, and then just the fight scenes and the build up to the story. It's hard. It's gonna be hard to compare. Um, I mean, like for me, I think me personally, I think if anything, My Hero may take that spot just because it's the season finale, and then you also
Yeah.
have Vigilantes too, which I don't think Vigilantes would knock it off, but it's just because it's part of that universe of My Hero.
Hmm.
So I feel like My Hero as a whole, might take that spot too. But
I think that's the one that'll get it for me this year because like I
yeah,
said, that was the anime. I mean, Dragon Ball Z, everybody's that's what got us into anime when I was a kid, right? Dragon Ball Z and My Hero during COVID. That's like what really kicked off my curiosity. I mean, I think that was the first fucking episode we did. I think we did My Hero or we did something along those lines with cartoons and shit like that for it was one of our first earlier solo episodes. We talked heavy into My Hero. We were just geeking over Bakugo and Endeavor and all them. So that would be the one that I think would, supplant as like the number one of this year for me particularly. And I'm really looking forward to that. I'm really, really, really. Have they got a date on that one yet? When that one's supposed to release?
for the season finale or series finale.
This series, yeah, the last series.
I want to say October. Usually October.
Fuck.
If it's October, if it's not October, then it's earlier. I
Yeah,
would say
because
it's around that
I
time.
think we were starting in May last year, May, June last year, last couple seasons. So I was hoping that it was going to be around the corner, but with Kaiju number 8 and Vigilantes starting, I'm pretty sure Vigilantes will end and then My Hero last season will pick up. Well, like I said, Ricky, man, this is always a blast when I get to have you on. I love whenever I get to go onto your pages and find out what you're watching because. Like I said, I get a lot of my good stuff that I'm watching now, or I get it from you, I get it from Hayden, I get it from Larry, I'm getting it from Brandon. But you're always putting out quality picks when it comes to anime, man. So thank you as always for coming on the show. It's always a blast.
Thank you for having me on, man. It's been fun.
Absolutely. Well, that's been Ricky. I've been Julian. This has been the Cartoon Chronicles, and this has been the recap of season 2 for Solo Leveling. Thank you. Have a good night, and this has been another piece of your childhood.